want to eat all of these. These are so good. Oh my goodness. Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Nicole, and in today's video I'll be making homemade peanut butter and chocolate chip cookies. I will be using butter, granulated white sugar, brown sugar, eggs, chocolate chips, peanut butter, which is probably what I should have led with, flour, which is in a grapefruit container, per my mother, honey, baking soda, baking powder, vanilla, we have very little left, I think just the right amount, hopefully, and some salt. I have 2 sticks of butter. I'm going to melt them, which some recipes say to melt, some say to soften. I like thinner, more dense, chewy cookies, and that is what was recommended, is to melt my butter if I want that kind of consistency. I'm going to add this yummy melted butter. See, it is definitely melted and liquidy, to my mixing bowl, and now I'm just going to let it cool. While I wait for my butter to cool, I'm going to measure out some of my ingredients. I'm going to start off with the dry ingredients. I'm adding 2.5 cups of flour. That's 1. Here's my second cup. I'm just going to take my knife and from the handle part of the cup to the end over my flour container. I'm just going to scrape my knife across to make sure it's smooth and flat. Add my second cup of flour to my bowl. I'm doing this over the sink because for those of you that can see, I'm sure you can see that I have made a mess of flour, and it is so much easier to clean it if it's directly in the sink than it is on your counters and all over your floor. To my flour, I'm adding a teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of baking powder, and if I can scoop it out of the container, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. That's not quite 1/2 teaspoon, so I'm gonna add a little pinch more with my fingers. I'm just going to take a spoon and mix my dry ingredients together so that they are well incorporated, and I just want to make sure that I don't have any lumps in my flour. To my blind people, if you can't see the lumps, feel free to just stick your fingers in there and pinch around and feel around to make sure that there aren't any. Let's check on our butter. Ooh, it clumped up a little bit. Ew. Okay. I'm gonna have to redo this. Gross. Oh no! I waited too long. Improvising. I'm gonna heat this up for like a few seconds, 5 seconds, and then I'm gonna whisk it again and hope for the best. Okay, so I've been stirring it with a spoon pretty aggressively. And it did return back to liquid, thank goodness. It's still like kind of gritty, so I'm gonna just mix it a little bit, but oh, I hope it's fine. I'm so scared, I'm already nervous. Before my butter hardens again, I'm going to measure out 2 cups of peanut butter. I'm a bit skeptical to use that much peanut butter, but that's what this recipe called for, so I'm gonna do it. Oh gosh, this is gonna be messy. I'm sorry, Mama. I never meant to make a mess in your kitchen, but I think I will today. Here's 1/4 cup, and I gotta do this 7 more times. Must I say I hate working with peanut butter? I just had my measuring cup going like this on the top of my bowl so I could get it out, and it freaking splashed me in the forehead. That's amazing. It's probably all over my glasses as well. So, if anyone wants a snack, I offer you my forehead. It will taste like peanut butter and butter, which I'm sure is amazing. Now that I have my 2 cups, or hopefully 2 cups of peanut butter in here, I'm going to mix that in with my butter before I add any more ingredients. Wow, this is so nice. The butter being melted makes it so much easier to mix in the peanut butter. Peanut butter cookies are known for not really spreading. I am going to be adding some chocolate chips to this, so that should help with the spreading. But I'm also going to add a tablespoon of honey, if I can get it out of the bottle. to help a little bit more with that. Plus, I think honey will taste really good with peanut butter. I'm only adding a tablespoon, but one recipe that I saw used 3 tablespoons and less peanut butter than I'm using. So let's see if this 1 tablespoon really even makes a difference. And now it is sugar time! So even though granulated sugar is a dry ingredient, I'm going to be adding the 1 cup of white sugar to my wet ingredients, so the peanut butter, the honey, and the butter. We're going to be using 3/4 cup of brown sugar. Mine is brand new, it's in a bag. I'm gonna attempt to pour it directly into my cup over the sink. Hope for the best. Alright, well now I'm just accepting that no matter how I do this, it's going to be messy. The recipe called for 3/4 cup of packed brown sugar, so that's 1/2 cup there. And now I shall go fill up another 1/4 of a cup so I can get my 3/4. But I did see some recipes that did a 1-to-1 ratio with the white granulated sugar and the brown sugar, so it depends on the recipe. We're going to try the 3/4 cup since I'm following this recipe and see how it turns out. And here's my other 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Alrighty, and I'm just gonna mix these in until they're thoroughly incorporated with one another. I'm just stirring aggressively with my hands, but I think I'm gonna have to use my mixer because I don't think I'm doing a very good job of getting the sugar very well incorporated into this. I decided to use a hand mixer, so I'm gonna do that for a little bit. Remember, if you are mixing, to scrape down the sides so that you get everything incorporated. Okay, now I'm going to crack 2 eggs, room temperature eggs. I'm cracking them on the edge of my counter. For you blindies, if you've never cracked the egg once in your life, I take the egg, I hold it vertically, yeah, whatever that is, vertically. And like at the halfway point of the egg, I kind of just hit it at the edge of my counter. And then I find the very soft, squishy part. I didn't crack it hard enough. I'm very careful with my eggs. And you kind of put 2 thumbs, like where your thumbs meet one into another, and you press in a little bit. I do it very gently because I don't want shells in my bowl. And then you pull it apart until the egg falls into the bowl. And then I'm gonna stick my finger in there and see if I feel any shells. And I do not. I hate eggs, they're so gross. That was one. Here goes the second one. Ooh, that one might get me some shell. It cracked a little soft in the middle. Let's feel it. Nope. That is beautiful. Now take your bowl of eggs and pour it into your wet ingredient. And now we're going to add some vanilla, if I can find it. This recipe called for 2 teaspoons. I do not have 2 teaspoons. I have 1. I pre-measured it out and put it back in the bottle earlier. Actually, my mom did. And it was only 1 teaspoon. But that's okay, because I saw other recipes that called for 1 teaspoon. Mix that all in together. And now it is time to make our wet ingredients friends with our dry ingredients. So I'm going to take about a cup at a time and add my flour, baking soda, baking powder, and salt to my wet ingredients. So that's about a cup. I'm gonna take a spoon, if I can find it. Oh my god, I lost my spoon. It's on the counter. And I'm going to mix this in, and then I'll do it again until all of the dry ingredients are in the wet ingredients. So I couldn't find my apron, and I keep wiping my hands on my pants and my shirt. And thankfully my shirt is white, but my pants are black. And my dad came in here and was like, you know you have flour all over your pants, right? And I was like, yes, I know. But at this point, I think I have every ingredient on my pants. So if it weren't for the material of my pants, they'd be edible. So I'm doing a lot of folding here with my ingredients. So basically you scoop your spoon across the bottom, flip it over the top, and you just keep doing that from different angles of the bowl until everything is mixed very well together. So because I used melted butter instead of softened butter, this mixture is actually really easy to mix by hand. It's really, really soft. But unfortunately that does mean that it will require the dough to be refrigerated for about 30 minutes to an hour so that it could cool, because otherwise it would be way too soft when we bake it and the cookies would be super thin. The last thing we're going to add to our cookie dough is chocolate chips. You can pretty much use whatever kind of chocolate chips you like. These are semi-sweet, but I've heard, wow, they're all ending up in my bowl. This is why I pour over things. I've heard that milk chocolate pairs really, really well with peanut butter, which I actually prefer milk chocolate, but I bought semi-sweet chocolate chips, so that's what I'm using today. Okay, here's 1 cup of chocolate chips, and then I'm just gonna mix those in a little bit before I add the 2nd cup. I did such a good job measuring out my 2nd cup of chocolate chips, but of course I wasn't recording for that one, so it wouldn't be perfect unless I was not recording. I'm just going to add the 2nd cup of chocolate chips. That is a lot of chocolate chips to my bowl and mix everything in together. Before anyone judges me for what I'm about to do, I'm going to wash my hands. I think some of you might already know what's to come or what's about to happen. But for those of you that don't, you will judge me. And I just need to prove that I do wash my hands pretty much between every step. I'm going to use my hands to mix everything in together, just to make sure I have chocolate chips in every bite. That might be too much chocolate chips, but I'm gonna trust the recipe. I didn't want to go against it. With cooking, I kind of adjust things. With baking, I'm a little more scared. But I think it'll be fine. Okie, now I'm going to take my uncooked cookie dough and stick it in the fridge and let it chill for about an hour. Been an hour, my dough should be ready. This recipe called to make my cookies pretty big, about 3 tablespoons worth. That is a huge ball of dough, oh my gosh. I'm attempting to do that, although I don't know how well it's going to turn out. They're not all going to be exactly the same shape or size. That one's bigger than that one. But what I'm doing is I'm scooping out 3 tablespoons, rolling it up in my hands, and then kind of flattening it out a teeny bit onto the tray. Just so the bottoms are a little flat and the tops are kind of flat, but they're still very rounded. Because the dough was chilled for a bit, it is a bit more crumbly, but just squeeze it together with your hands and it will eventually form. I have 2 cookie sheets with 8 cookies on each and a little bit of extra cookie dough. The recipe says to put these in the oven for 15 minutes or until the edges are golden brown. So I'm going to FaceTime someone around 12 minutes and have them help me to determine whether the edges are golden brown or how much longer to keep them in. I'm going to put these in at 350. I'm going to put one on the bottom rack, one on the top. Ow, that was hot. So after 12 minutes, these are my cookies. According to a sighted person, they look like the way that I want them to be. I want extra chocolate on my cookies, so I'm just going to add a couple of chocolate chips to the tops of each cookie. This might take a while because blind people props. So I'm just gonna squish them into the top while the dough is still warm. And they'll just melt right in. Oh my gosh, these are gonna be so good. I just wanna like pick one up and eat it now. I put about 4, 5 in each cookie. So when you do this, you kind of have to do it almost immediately after you take them out. Maybe not immediately, but like within a couple of minutes, because your dough will still be pretty soft. And you just kind of lightly press them in like that. And they just, you don't want to like, I want the tips to kind of show a little bit for like design, but they are melting because they're chocolate and the cookies are still hot. Okay, so here I've added chocolate chips to all of my cookies. I can't wait. Moment of truth. Let's try these peanut butter chocolate chip cookies. Oh. Honestly, I don't know why I went to school to be a dietitian, because I want to eat all of these. These are so good. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm gonna go now and I will try not eat all these cookies.